morning to everybody. So, yesterday we finished at David Tillman. We finished at David Tillman, what he said, and according to him, what were his views on biodiversity. So, what David Tillman said was that plots with more species, plots means areas, the land, with more species showed on biodiversity after long-term ecosystem experiments using outdoor plots. He gave some hypothesis, and that statement which he gave was that plots with more species showed less year to year, showed less year to year variation in total biomass. Variation in total biomass. This is what David Tillman said, that plots with more species showed less year-to-year variation in total biomass. By this, he means that suppose there are two land areas. Plots here means land areas. Land areas. By this, how to explain this, his statement is, suppose there are, for example, if we compare two land areas or two plots, this is one plot and this is another plot. In this plot, we have trees, big trees, we have shrubs, okay, we have grass, different varieties of species. That means biodiversity is rich in this plot, in plot A. We have trees, we have shrubs, we have herbs, grasses, etc. So see here, the biodiversity is rich. Whereas in plot B, suppose we have just one crop growing, say wheat. Only this crop is growing, and some grass is also there, and some grass is also there. So we have two land masses, we have two plots A and B. In A, we have a variety of vegetation growing, trees, shrubs, herbs, grasses, whereas B has just one or two types of food. This is what he means. Plots with more species showed less year-to-year variation in total biomass. Now, whether it's plot E or plot A or plot B, there are some organisms, there are some animals which are dependent on them. There are some animals, there are some birds also, which are dependent on them. Here also some insects also. Let's write only animals and birds. Here also some animals which are dependent on it, and some birds which are dependent on this vegetation. Now, after a certain span of time, say a year or less or few months, what will happen? This crop will mature, the grass will, say when the winters come, the grass, it dies off. So after certain months, what will happen? Both this and this, they will disappear. They won't be there. They will die. Their lifespan will be over. Whereas if you see this, because it has biodiversity, it has a rich biodiversity. It's not that after 6 months or a year everything will die. Some or the other thing will always remain. By the end of the year, if this dies and this dies, they will remain. That means this is what uh, further he says, showed less year to year variation in the total biomass. That means when the vegetation is dying here, the animals and the birds who are dependent on this vegetation, what will happen after that? When the vegetation which is already growing dies off, they will also move out from here. They will move out. Whereas because some of the vegetation is left, some of the species are still left, some of them will move, but some will stay here, some will stay back, because it's not that all the vegetation has gone off, all the species have gone off. It's not that. This is the advantage of a rich biodiversity. That means year to year variation in total mass. Plots with more biodiversity showed less year to year variation in total biomass. That means the movement of this biomass from this, it was less, because the species were more. So the biomass which left this group, it was less, the variation was less. Here, because in the plot, the number of species are less. So what happened? Once they died, all the biomass shifted from there. So this is what meant by David Tillman, who explained it with the statement that plots with more species showed less year-to-year variation in total biomass. That means the plots with less species or less richness of the species showed more year-to-year variation in total biomass. Is this point clear to you about David Tillman? Is it clear, Vita? Any query in this? What David Tillman said? Yes? Any query? Any question from your side, or any repetition if you want? Yes? Yes, but I'm not getting your response. Okay. Paras Singh says it's clear. Fine. Okay. Chitra to Chitra also. Fine. I think it is clear to all of you. Okay. Now, this was about David Tillman. Now, we move on to the next one, where we will talk about the losses of the species. See, because of the human activities, what is happening that the species are getting extinct. We are losing the species at an alarming rate. Now, well-being of an ecosystem is very important. If there is species richness, if there is biodiversity richness is in an area, that is very important for the ecosystem as well as for the survival of human race. If the biodiversity is not rich and we are losing species at an alarming rate, what will happen? It is very dangerous for the survival of the human race. Besides a healthy ecosystem, the ecosystem will become unhealthy. At the same time, it is going to affect the survival of human race on this earth. So maintaining a rich ecosystem, maintaining a rich biodiversity is very important. Now, this was explained, and now see here, few questions are there. If we lose one or two species, is it going to harm the ecosystem and ultimately the human race? Like, if we have 20,000 ant species, and out of those 20,000 ant species, we lose 5,000. That means we are left with 15,000. Is it going to harm us anyway? Is it going to harm the ecosystem, and indirectly is it going to harm us anyway? At the same time, if there are frogs on one of the ghats, and say Western Ghat, and if we lose one or two species, is it going to harm the ecosystem, and is it going to harm ultimately the human race? These questions are there. See, losing one or two species, does it really going to matter? Does it really going to affect the survival of human race on this earth? So there were questions like this, and based on this, there was a gentleman, a researcher, an ecologist, Paul Ehrlich. We come to the next one about the importance of every species, about the richness of biodiversity, how this richness of biodiversity affect the survival of human race on this earth. So there was an ecologist, Paul Ehrlich. He was a gentleman, he was an ecologist who studied this, that loss of one or two species, how they are going to affect the ecosystem. And on the basis of that, he gave a hypothesis which is known as Rivet-Popper hypothesis. Rivet-Popper hypothesis. And what is this Rivet-Popper hypothesis? Rivet, you know what are rivets? Anybody who knows what are rivets? Yes. What are rivets? Who can tell me what are rivets? Rivet? Yes, beta? Any answer from your side? What are rivets? Yes, bache? Have you heard of screws? Okay. Have you heard of screws? Nut, bolts, screws. Have you heard of that? Nut and bolt. So the rivets are nut and bolt type things. So rivet popper means those nut and bolts when they are taken out. These are nut bolts. When these are removed or popped out, removed or popped out. So he gave this hypothesis, and in his hypothesis, he compared the ecosystem with an aeroplane. The ecosystem was compared with an aeroplane. And what he said about it, that you know how an aeroplane is made. In the aeroplane, the aluminum sheets are used, rubber sheets are used, and all are connected. All aluminum sheets which are used to make aeroplane and various parts of the aeroplane, they are connected to each other by the use of rivets, those nut bolts. So now what he says, that if the people, they come into the aeroplane, they sit in the aeroplane, and while they sit, they keep on removing one rivet. Okay, so they remove one rivet, fine, it's okay, then they go home. Another one, then the next group comes, they also sit and they also remove, say one of them or two three of them, they remove one or two rivets. Okay, they also go back. So this way, if the passengers come and they keep on removing the rivets, how does it going to affect the aeroplane or ecosystem? Rivets are the species which have been removed by killing, by human activities. Rivets here is compared with the species which are removed from the ecosystem by killing or by various other human activities. So how is it going to affect? See, when the one or few rivets are removed, that means species are removed from the ecosystem, it will not harm the ecosystem that much. But if a critical rivet is removed, a critical rivet is removed, which is very important, say the rivet of the wings, wings of aeroplane. So this is going to cause a drastic effect on the aeroplane, and this is going to be the this is not at all included in flight safety, and this is going to affect the flight of the aeroplane as well as its, it will crash. This is what going to happen if this critical rivet is removed. So for some time it is okay if one or two rivets are removed, it is not going to harm. But ultimately, when this process continues, the ecosystem gets harmed. If it continues, if this process of loss of species continues, the ecosystem gets disbalanced. So continuous removal of species from the ecosystem, continuous removal of species from the ecosystem can disturb the ecosystem, and result in an unhealthy ecosystem, which is very dangerous for the survival of human race. And this was what told by Paul Ehrlich in the rivet popper hypothesis. So here we end with the importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. After this, we come to another topic, and still we have more than 12 minutes. So we can come to the next topic, which is loss of biodiversity. Here, the next one is loss of biodiversity. The next topic is the loss of biodiversity. Now, what is this loss of biodiversity? See, when the earth came into existence, at that time, the diversity was very rich, the biodiversity was very rich. But, then what happened? Slowly, many millions of years later, when the industrialization took place, human activities increased. So that resulted in the loss of biodiversity. Now, because of this, what is happening? Because of human activities, the biological wealth of our planet is getting destroyed. The biological wealth of our planet is getting destroyed. And because of this, what is happening? See, the number of birds, the number of vegetation, the number of animals which were already there, they are decreasing in their numbers, and they are extincting one by one. They are in the verge of extinction. Some of them have already extincted one by one. Now there is a union, IUCN. This is what we discussed. There is a body for conservation of natural resources, International Union for Conservation of Nature. Now this is based in UK, United Kingdom. Now this particular agency, it has given a red list. It has given a red list, and this red list or red book, it consists of various organisms. I mean, the list of whether the organisms are threatened or they are rare or what. So on the basis of this, they gave a list of a red list, and that red list which is there, I'll just write it for you. The red list which is given by IUCN, the list has on first number the species which have extinct. Then the second one is extinct in wild. The third one is the critically endangered. The fourth one is endangered, not dangered, endangered. The fifth one is vulnerable. The sixth one is threatened. And the last one is rare. They included the organisms, the species into these lists, into the list of this, into this red list, which has on number one all the organisms which are already extinct. You know, the organisms extinct means they are not present on this earth. Not even one organism of that one living being of that species is present on this earth. Recently, you know, the organisms which have extinct, among them there is dodo. Dodo is there. Steeler sea cow. Steeler sea cow is there. Then there is passenger pigeon. Pigeon. This is a bigger list right now. I'm giving you just 3 names. So these are extinct, means not even one organism of that species is present in this world. Then we come to the second one. The second one is extinct in the wild. What do we mean by extinct in the wild? Extinct in the wild, that means when some organisms, they are at the verge of extinction, what the government does is they make reserve for them. They make places for them where they are kept in, you know, in a good condition. They are protected from the poachers, from the other people, so that they may not die. So such are biosphere reserve. They are protected in biosphere reserves. Then they are protected in zoos, etc. So these are extinct in the wild. That means they are not found in nature. Most of the organisms which belong to that particular species, they have died. Only few are left, and those few which are left, they are kept in biosphere reserves and zoology and zoos, so that they can be protected. They may not get extinct. To protect them, they are kept there. So in wild, they are not found, but they can be found in biosphere reserves and zoos. Then there is critically endangered. These are the species which are at the verge of extinction. Means if they are not taken, if these critically endangered species are not taken care of, what will happen? They will die in nature first, and then finally they will extinct. First they will extinct in nature. That means they will not be found in nature. The government will have to protect it in reserves, in zoos, and then finally they will extinct. So critically endangered species are those. Then endangered species means they are also at the verge of extinction. They have to be taken care of properly, and they should also be protected. Otherwise they will become critically endangered, then extinct in wild, and finally they will extinct. Vulnerable means these are the animals which are left, which are at the verge of being endangered. Okay, that means they have to be taken care of, and if they will not be taken care of, they will become endangered and finally extinct. threatened Threatened species are those species which are in a danger of getting extinct. That means threatened species are to be taken care of, and threatened species For threatened species, we have sufficient time. And if in that period of time, if we take care of them, then what will happen, that they will increase in number and they will no longer be threatened species. They will become normal ones. Okay. Then the last one in the list is the rare species. Rare species are the species which are found in a particular area. For example, in the rare species, we have kangaroos, which are found in Australia. So if due to some reason these kangaroos they extinct, because of some reason if these kangaroos extinct, what is going to happen? There won't be any kangaroo left in the world. So these are rare species, and this is the list of the red list which was given by IUCN for the loss of biodiversity and for the organisms who are at the verge of extinction. Now, beta, these days, because of human activities, there is loss of biodiversity. We know it very well. Now, if there is extinction of any species, of course there is. Even the tigers were at the verge of extinction at some time, then the reserves were made and they are at a better number now. But the extinction of some organisms which we are facing today, this is the sixth extinction which we are facing, sixth extinction. Before this, 5 extinctions have taken place. Before this, 5 extinctions have taken place, and the difference between those 1 to 5 and this sixth one is, for 1 to 5 extinction, the nature was responsible. That was because of the critical natural conditions. But for this sixth extinction, human being, the human activity is responsible. The activities by human being is the cause for the sixth extinction, which we are facing these days. You know, long before, say in the fifth extinction, there were dinosaurs which were killed, which got extinct, and there are various theories which tells that how those dinosaurs were killed because of a meteor, or because of the changing environmental condition, or because of some glaciation and things like this. Various theories come up, but the dinosaurs got extinct. Now it is the sixth extinction which we are facing, and for the sixth extinction, the what is responsible are the activities of human beings. So beta, now we come to the next topic, which is causes of biodiversity losses. Why the biodiversity losses are taking place? The causes of biodiversity losses. Now, till whatever we have done, till man, and then Elrich, then loss of biodiversity, all this. Is there any query from your side? Any problem? Any question from your side? Yes, beta. Anything you could not understand, so that I can repeat it for you? Yes, bache. Anything? Because I think hardly we are left with 1 or 2 minutes, and if I start, I won't be able to even finish that topic. So any question, any query which is left? Vulnerable, which are the ones which are at the verge of being endangered. They are in a better position. Vulnerable are in a better position than endangered. Once they get endangered, that means they will enter the extinct phase. But vulnerable means we have some time to protect them. We can protect them. There is more time than endangered species to protect them. Okay, they are in a better position. The vulnerable organisms who are vulnerable means they are not endangered. They can come into the group of endangered. So they are still protected, and by some more efforts, we can protect them properly. This is vulnerable. Susceptible, in other words, which we say, that is susceptible. Yes, any other question? Any